welcome to the EaglePod. I'm thrilled to introduce Mary Camaj, an inspiring Albanian American who embodies the essence of cultural pride and academic excellence. Mary graduated from Columbia University with her master's degree in political science, focusing on her research in the Albanian population in the Balkans. Not only is she an accomplished scholar, but Mary is also a passionate advocate for her heritage. She has proudly represented Albanian culture as a professional dancer, showcasing traditional dances at major events, and has been recognized for her efforts in the community. Also being awarded the title of Miss Xhubleta at a cultural festival in Albania. Mary's journey also reflects her deep commitment to preserving and promoting Albanian culture. And so I'm so excited to have her on the pod today. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much, Lorena. That was such a beautiful introduction. Thank you. You're so kind.
All right. So can you first start by telling us all about your Albanian background? Were you born here? Your parents, where are they from?
Sure. So I was born here. I was born and raised in New York.
Okay.
My parents came to the United States in the late 90s, early 2000s. My dad is from Hoti by origin in the Montenegro side of the border, whereas my mom is from Castrati on the Albanian side of the border. But my grandpa, he had left Montenegro and came to Albania in Shkodër. So my father, even though he originates from the other side of the border, he grew up in Shkodër. So yeah, my parents met each other over there, came over here, got married, had 4 kids, and here we are today. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. So you've always lived in New York
Yes,
for most
I've
of your
always been
life?
in New York. Yep.
All right. How's the Albanian community over there? I know New York has like the
Yeah.
biggest
Oh
ever.
my gosh. I'm so thankful that my parents ended up coming to New York because the Albanian community is very much present and very active. And I think it's easier in New York and compared to like other states where there's not a larger population of Albanians. Here you're able to surround yourself with your culture and you can find those organizations or those smaller communities where you can really be a part of your culture and feel at home, even though you're so far abroad.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, sure.
I live in North Carolina,
Oh my
unfortunately.
God.
I'm just now starting to kind of get involved with like the Albanian community here, which is really, really small. But yeah, so you got very lucky living in New York.
But listen, even though you're living in North Carolina, this podcast and everything you're doing is so awesome.
Thank you. So you completed your Bachelor's of Arts in International Studies and Political Science at Manhattan University, and then you did your Master's of Arts in Political Science at Columbia University.
Yeah.
How do you feel like your Albanian heritage has influenced your identity and just professional journey overall?
Yeah, for sure. So I say this to everybody. Everything started for me through dance.
Okay.
Like every diaspora family, we're born and raised to like be patriotic, be proud of where we're from, no matter where we live in the world. So of course I always had that in me, like all of us have had.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we all embark on our like journey of self-discovery. And real love comes from figuring it out on your own and within yourself. So to be honest, when I first started dancing, my mother forced me to join an Albanian dance group. I did not want to go. I was like, because I was 14 years old, 15.
Yeah.
It was like freshman year of high school.
Mm.
And I was like, no, everyone's gonna laugh. Like, there's no way I'm doing this. But no, she was like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I gave it a try. I went with my sisters, and it like I don't know what happened. Like a natural process within myself happens, and I just think I'd like to think there's something like in our blood. Like when you hear the music that your ancestors have been listening to for centuries, when you see the dances, when you dance them, it something feels right and something clicks. So I absolutely fell in love with it. And I'm a type of person where if I like something, I have to completely surround myself with it and like really love it and dedicate
Immerse
myself to
yourself.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And then it started with dance. And then it kind of segued to, I was always interested in like political science because I really like to give presentations. I like to talk always, ever since I was little.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let me read a bit more about Albanian history. Let me read a bit more about like, why we are the way we are, what happened to our country, why are we divided up. And so I wasn't able to explore that much in high school, but when I went to Manhattan College, I was like, okay, anytime that I had like a class where I could sneak Albania into it, I was like, I would try to create excuses for myself to write about Albania, whether it was like a political science course or this is a really funny topic, but for like a nutrition class I took, I wrote a paper on like nutrition at the time of communism in Albania.
Oh
And this,
my God.
like, it was the most random things, but I wanted to do it because that's what
That's
motivated
amazing.
me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was able to do that in undergrad, and then in graduate school, which is great, is you're able to have a lot more autonomy in regards to what you write and how you go about your program. And so I knew that by pursuing Albania academically, I was also personally
Yeah.
benefiting because I was learning more about myself. But then at the same time, I felt like I was contributing either to like research or academics in a way that not many others have before.
Mhm.
Because and I wish a lot of students would realize this, and I hope they do moving on. For Albanians specifically, we, even though there's like a lot of Albanians, like we have these communities.
Yeah.
If you look internationally, we're pretty small people. And so, you know, academically in a lot of universities, they want diversity.
Mhm.
And so they'll oftentimes appreciate when there's a student that's seeking to represent a part of the world that is underrepresented.
Yeah.
So while I was personally benefiting and personally enjoying writing and researching about Albania, it was benefiting me academically because like higher universities or any university will look at a student that wants to research
Mhm.
about Albania in any field, not just political science, and they'll see that as something that catches their eye or makes them stand out in comparison to a lot of other applicants.
Yeah.
And with that being said, when I was applying to Columbia specifically, um, during my application process, you have to write like a statement of purpose,
Mhm.
right? So I made my whole application surround my Albanian identity. I think like the first sentence of that statement of purpose was like, I'm a first generation Albanian American. This fact dictates my academics, my extracurriculars, and my personal life and blah. And then I went to this whole like full circle story about dance, what I just said before,
Mhm.
and how it translated into my studies and what I want to pursue in life. And I truly believe that that fact alone, the fact that I was Albanian and I created this full circle story for my application, which was a true story. It's not something I made up. I really felt that way. I really think that's what made me stand out and that's what made me get into that program. I was the only Albanian in the master's political science program at the time that I was there. So it just felt right. It just felt right for me. And I think it also, if a lot more young Albanian academic and students that are pursuing higher education view it as such and view
Yeah.
their identity as something that sets them apart from others and that helps them in the long run and they can benefit from it, I
Mhm.
think that would be great. And that I hope that very much.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
you're
so that's how
definitely
that
an
happened.
inspiration for
Uh,
the rest of
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
It
you
makes
so
me
much.
so happy to see how you hold our Albanian values and traditions so close to your heart and
Thank you.
just your initiative to bring the diaspora together and hopefully influence other Albanian Americans who it's very difficult when you're born here, raised here, you kind of start assimilating and you really have to be, I feel like, conscious about like how you're taking steps into like preserving our culture and traditions here.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing a fantastic job with that.
Thank,
And you
thank
also wore that traditional Albanian Xhubleta
I
attire
did.
at your graduation from Columbia University.
Yes.
And can you talk about like share about what those moments felt like for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I had actually made that decision the moment I got accepted into Columbia, like in
Okay.
2023. I was like, when I graduate,
I
I'm going
will.
to wear my traditional Albanian clothing. Like that was a set done deal for me.
Uh,
And then when the time actually came, it felt so surreal because it was really, it's a lot of hard work to get through like a master's program. And I was so happy that I got through it. And it just made sense for me to wear it because, again, considering my program was like dedicated to my Albanian identity, I was like, it only makes sense.
yeah.
And plus, again, living in New York, where there's already a lot of diversity. I didn't fear being judged at all. I think there's a lot of cultural appreciation in New York and at Columbia, where it's like in the center of New York City. I didn't fear that at all, considering there's students from all around the world
Yeah.
that go to that school. So the day that I wore it, the way it works is that there were set days assigned for students to take graduation photos. So
Okay.
when I was there taking photos, there was like, I don't know how many other students all around campus in their blue caps and gowns. And I was over here running around in my little jubilee with my little robe on my head.
Oh my.
But I love it. I love it because
Yeah.
it feels right. Like
Yeah.
I love how I look in my jubilee. But I remember taking the photos and I would get looks, of course, from people, nothing, no negative looks
Yeah.
whatsoever. There were several students actually that would come up. My parents were there while I was
Mhm.
taking the photos and they were asking, they were like, oh, what country is this from? Oh,
Mhm.
it looks so beautiful. And I think the jublet, in comparison with like other traditional clothing from
Yeah.
Albania or from other countries, this might be like my opinion, but it really stands out. Like I was
Yeah.
wearing an original old jublet, like it's not like a
Yeah.
remake or anything. And you can
Wow.
tell it's old and it's very different and it's very big. And so that's what, I don't know, I look at it and I just feel like in awe when I see it. And
Yeah.
I'm sure others
It's
who have never
beautiful.
seen it
Yes.
before, it stands out very much. So I felt so happy and I felt so proud of course, myself, but of everything and everything that led up to that moment and all the people that helped along the way for me to reach that moment, like my parents, of course, but even like everyone that came before me, like grandparents, great grandparents, because I say this a lot with Albanians specifically. Like when you're a lot of Americans, like they may look at war as something of the past, something so far away, like just reading it in a textbook. When it comes to Albanians, a lot of our trauma is so recent. Like you don't have to go too far. You can go to a parent, a grandparent. They will have a story that's so out of this world, like what they've gone through.
Yeah.
And so I like to look at everything as connected. Like every moment in the past led up to now, and it's all connected. And I hope that, of course, there's so much to set out to do. I haven't done anything yet compared to what
Yeah.
hopefully I will be able to
Yeah.
do. But I just viewed it as I'm wearing this for those that came before me, for myself, for what I set out to do, and for everyone that will come after me. And
Yeah.
I hope that I would love to see other Albanian students wear their traditional clothing, whether it be at graduation, whether it be at any other important events,
Yeah.
because it's our clothing, it's ours, you
Yeah.
know. So why not?
Yeah. I love that. Is that what prompted you to participate in the cultural festival in Northern Albania? I can't recall the name of the festival, but
It's
you won Miss Xhubleta.
Yes, it's called Logu Bjeshkëve. It took
Okay.
place in Kelmend in Malsia Madhe.
Mhm.
So I had actually in 2017, I had gone in person to see the event for the first
Okay.
time. So I actually had seen it before. And a friend of mine was participating in the event. And I was just like blown away by how beautiful like it was. Like the scenery, like in the middle of the mountains,
Mhm.
these women dressed up, these young girls. And I knew that I would potentially take part one day. I just never felt ready because I felt young. I was like 16 at the time. I was like, oh, one day, one day. And I have a friend here in New York. His name is Sebastian Tinay. He has Arca Can Manage, where he has like a collection of traditional Albanian clothing in Xhubleta. He's a close friend of mine, and he would always tell me every year, go take part, go take part, go take part. And this year just felt right. This year felt right. I think everything lined up perfectly. I was like, you know what? I wore the Xhublet in the middle of New York for my graduation. I
Yeah.
said, I think it's only right that I wear it also back home in Albania. And so I wore it. I borrowed my friend Sebastian's Xhublet. It was a beautiful Xhublet. Everything was, I had never dressed up. I had never done my hair that way, like the
Yeah.
old traditional way with all
Yeah.
like the little parts.
How was that process of like getting your hair
Oh
done?
my
Did it
gosh.
take
So
off?
it happens, it starts the night before.
Okay.
I went to this lady's house.
Mhm.
Her name is Maria. She was absolutely talented.
Yeah.
It's like she gets a bar of soap and she wets like each strand of hair. She rolls it up and she puts a bobby pin in each one. And then she ties it really tight so that you sleep in it and it doesn't move. I did not sleep at all that night. Just know that. Like it was that painful, but it was worth the end result.
Mhm.
So yeah, the hair I thought looked absolutely beautiful. And it's so interesting how it like frames your face
Yeah.
because like you know like every Albanian region has their own like beauty stereotypes, like
Mhm.
what the woman should look like. And Malsia, it's like a woman, like a taller woman with a bigger face, a little fuller, whatever. And I just think when you put the costume together and when you wear it all, you're like, oh my gosh, I look like the girl they sing about in all those songs,
Oh.
like about the region. And like, but it's the same for every region.
Yeah.
Like when you wear the
Yeah.
clothing, you just, oh my gosh, now I understand. And like my features make
Mhm.
sense, the way I look makes sense when
Yeah.
I'm wearing this outfit. And so I got ready early in the morning. I went there to the event. It was so beautiful. Everyone was so kind. So many people came up to me to talk to me, and I was really appreciative of all the people congratulating me and wishing me the best of luck. And there were even some people that have recognized me, which I'm always so thankful for and very appreciative
Mhm.
whenever someone comes up to me like that. But we danced, we had a good time. And I got second place, Miss Xhubleta, which I felt very happy about because, you know, I think that prize, Miss Xhubleta, or it's also called Xhubleta Më Bukur, is
Okay.
like the other name of the prize. And just, I guess, considering how I was labeled as like Studentia Xhubletes
Yeah.
after I graduated, and now like, oh, I got this other title about the Xhubleta. Well, here, I was so thankful to the jury,
Yeah.
all the girls that took part, everyone that was present. I was just so,
I-
so happy and so surreal in the
Yeah.
moment. So yeah.
I love that so much. And you're
Thank you.
also so we mentioned previously you being a professional dancer. You performed at traditional Albanian dances at major events hosted by Albanian nonprofit organizations in New York.
Mhm.
Um, and you talked about how you got started in dance, but can you share what those performances mean to you and the impact you feel like they have on preserving Albanian culture?
Yeah. So I think with dance, you're able to communicate something in a way that words never will be able to.
Yeah.
And so my dance group, it was Gruppi Rosafati, and they're part of Our Lady of Shkodra Church in Hartsdale, New York. And that's a very big cultural center for the American Albanian community in New York. And so we would perform, of course, at a lot of church events, but anywhere that they needed a dance group, we were generally like pretty much anywhere that there was dancing, we were there.
Yeah.
But like in the crowd, you would see from young children that were born in the United States to old grandparents that had emigrated here. And I think just the make like I don't know, when dancing, I feel like I would make eye contact with this one person, or the way I would smile would make this old woman happy, or the way I would like I lose myself when I dance. I just
Yeah.
feel so at home when I'm dancing. And dancing the dances that these people who had emigrated from Albania had seen on their televisions when they lived over there, or that they themselves had danced when they were over there. And the message being that, wow, look at these first, second, third generation kids that were
Yeah.
born in the United States. Look how not only are they just dancing, but they're dancing well and they're enjoying what they're doing. And for me, the most important thing is just the connection we create with the crowd, specifically the Albanian crowd. And having that kind of bond with the community. And I love dancing for my community, because even when I'm not in costume, they'd be like, oh, hey, it's you, or oh my gosh, you dance here. And
Yeah.
like just fostering those types of relationships simply because of the fact that I dance and they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was very, very important for me. And like now my younger siblings are still dancing and they are enjoying it very much. And I'm hoping that they will continue to enjoy it
Yeah.
into their young adult life and hopefully more. But yeah, and then
You're
we would
like the Albanian dancing queen.
thank you so much. You're too kind. But yeah, so I post on social media too, my dancing. And it had started, I think I started in like 2021. It was like, during the pandemic still, like everyone was home. There was no dance practices, no performances, but I had managed to go to Albania that summer.
Okay.
And I started dancing outside over there. I was like, you know what? Let me record myself. Like everyone posts dance videos. Why not? So I started posting myself on TikTok, and then little by little, eventually it got traction because the Albanians of TikTok, I guess,
Yeah.
found it. However, the algorithm works, I
Yeah.
don't know. But and that kind of really made me take dancing even more seriously than I had already did. And being able to reach Albanians this time, not just in my community, but around the world, and receiving messages from young girls asking, how do I start dancing? How can I do this? Or, hey, I learned this dance through your video. I just want to let you know I performed it at my own
I
school.
feel like that's the best
I,
feeling,
oh my
isn't
gosh,
it?
it's so wonderful, but it's also so humbling,
Uh-huh.
because like for me, like I'm the oldest daughter, so I don't
Mhm.
have an older sister.
Okay.
And so I have a very good relationship with my mother, which I'm very thankful for. But you still kind of figure things out on your own when you don't have like an older sister.
Yeah.
And so being able to get messages from younger girls saying, I really love what you post, or I really love your content. I'm able to learn this because of you. I was so like, I I try to be something for others that I might necessarily not have had. And
Yeah.
so I'm so thankful for any person that's ever reached out or
Yeah.
commented or messaged me. And it makes me so happy, because dance is something that maybe I'll get into it later, but I'm able to speak Albanian.
Yeah.
Not many people in diaspora can. And that might discourage them from trying to get more involved in their culture or their community. But
Yeah.
dance is something that doesn't require you having to know how to speak the language. You can get get a grip of it
Mhm.
without necessarily knowing how to speak. And that's a great segue for many people to get into connecting with their culture if they would like. So that's how I view it. And I think other people view it that way as well through my content, which makes me really happy.
Yeah. For sure. And given that New York has a large Albanian population, have you considered opening maybe your own dance studio to teach the younger generation, or even starting like a volley competition or something?
Oh my gosh, I have actually been approached a lot. A lot of people have said you should open your own dance group. This
Yeah.
and I think it's a beautiful idea. My vision of it is that like if I do it, I would need to have a lot of time for it.
Yeah.
Right now where I am, it would be
Mhm.
selfish of me to start something but not be able to fully dedicate myself to it the way
Mhm.
I should. So right now I wouldn't be able to. That's not to say
Mhm.
I never will.
Yeah.
But right now I'm kind of working on something dance related that will be happening in the next month or so, which I'm really excited to share eventually. But I'm not stopping dancing. I'm still dancing, but in regards to a group, maybe in the future. But right
Okay.
now, not yet. But
All
yeah.
right. No, you're incredibly talented. So I know I would definitely benefit from any sort of dance lessons or anything
Yeah.
like that that you'd be able to give. Because like I can speak Albanian, but
Mhm.
with like the dancing and stuff, I feel like I know a simple vala.
Yeah.
Anything more than that.
I mean, in the meantime, I've actually recorded like and posted some tutorials of like how to dance on my
Mhm.
social media, on my TikTok.
Okay.
It's like basic dancing. There's also like some pogonishte, how to dance
Okay.
katyushkas, kuksit.
Nice.
I posted those and
Okay.
people have managed to use those as well. But if you need any private lessons, just let me know.
Okay.
I'll be more than
Okay.
happy to help you out.
Private lessons with Mary.
There you go.
I'll link those below, by the way, if anyone else
Yeah.
is interested in, going
Thank you.
through. Yeah. Today's fun fact will be in Albanian. Logu I Bjeshkëve është një manifestim kulturor që ngjall jetë në zemrën e maleve të Shqipërisë, ku hieshia natyrës bashkohet me bukurinë e traditave të lashta. Ky festival është pjesë e kalendarit kombëtar të ngjarjeve të turizmit kulturor dhe traditës, duke tërhequr vit pas viti mijëra vizitorë nga mbar vende dhe diaspora. Një nga simbolet më të rëndësishme të festivalit është Xhubleta, veshja tradicionale e malësorëve shqiptar e cila ruhet në mbrojtjen e UNESCO, si një pjesë e rëndësishme e trashëgimisë kulturore botërore. And now, back to our guest speaker. You were also involved in organizing the annual George Kastrioti Skanderbeg Street Fair.
Yeah.
What goes into planning such a big event, and
Yeah,
how
sure.
have you managed to, be a part of that?
So the event is hosted by Albanian American Open Hand
Mhm.
Association, which basically they run a food pantry here in the Bronx, where every single week they feed hundreds of thousands of families free
Mhm.
food every week, and they're run by Albanians. So they're such wonderful people. It's very fortunate to know them and to see the work that they do and even work with them. With that being said, they do that in collaboration with former New York City Council member Mark Jonai.
Mhm.
I personally work for him. I view him as a mentor. He's very wonderful and he's helped me very much in, I guess, finding my way through the Albanian American community and finding where I can contribute. With that being said, between Open Hands and between, with Mark and working through Mark, we kind of get together to organize this annual street fair. So preparations normally start, I would say, a few months prior to the actual event happening, and the event takes place on Rruga Gjergj Kastrioti Skënderbeu, or Gjergj Kastrioti Skënderbeu Way, which is Crescent Avenue in the Bronx, which is just renamed to honor Skënderbeu. The first year that the event was hosted, that was the year in which the street was renamed. So that was like the big
Nice.
grand opening of the
Okay.
street. This past year was the third annual, and next year will be the fourth annual. This past time, I would say, I think they said like 8,000 people showed up, which is
Wow.
really insane, but also great. But essentially, the street fair, what it is that any money that is raised for the event, of course, goes to cover any expenses, but the rest of it directly goes to Albanian American Open Hand Association to sponsor their food pantry. So anyone that helps with the events just knows that they're also helping this nonprofit organization. But the event is a showcase of music, of dance groups. The music can be any artists that are here from Albania that come to New York, local artists we support very much, and especially the Albanian language schools and Albanian dance groups, the local groups that are within the tri-state area. They all come to perform that day. They get to showcase to their parents and to the community at large what they do, what they learn from their schools, the dances that they know. They all dress up in traditional clothing. It's very beautiful. We also have a lot of vendors, local vendors, Albanian businesses, restaurants, clothing companies that want to showcase their products to the community. They all come there and they participate as well. We also have any elected officials like in the Bronx or New York City at large. They come and they speak at the event to connect with the Albanian American community. We also have occasionally officials, Albanian elected officials, and those from Kosovo as well. We have ambassadors come. any ministers that are in New York come as well. I just think I've been a part of a lot of Albanian events through my dancing. I've never seen one like this street fair, and I hope to see it grow even bigger and bigger every year. The group of people that organize, believe it or not, there's not a lot of people in the organizing group. It's a very handful of us that do the work, but we managed to pull it off. But we're always welcome to any other people that want to come and help and volunteer in the organizing or the day of. Any young people, any age, not just young people, but can come and help us as well. If they ever want to reach out, we're more than happy to have more people take part in it. But I'm very proud of the event, and I think it's a great manifestation of our culture and identity in New York.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully next year I can just fly
There you
to New
go.
York and make
Listen,
it to the event. And
we would love to
yeah,
have you.
yeah.
It'd be great.
Have you had any mentors or anyone you look up to in the Albanian community
Yeah,
that
so
has kind of inspired you?
I mentioned him previously, but Mark
Mhm.
Jonah is a really big
Okay.
mentor in my personal and
Okay.
professional life.
Mhm.
And I remember the first time meeting him, he said something that really stood out to me. He was like, we've let a lot of youth slip through the cracks
Mhm.
because one bad experience with our community can lead someone to turning away and never coming back.
Yeah.
And so when we are dealing with our youth, we need to make sure that we, encourage them, protect them as much as possible, but also teach them as much as we can. And his motto is, if I went through these mistakes and I learned from my hard mistakes, that doesn't mean you have to make the same mistakes to learn it. I
Yeah.
will tell you what I learned, and you'll set out and experience new things, like avoiding what mistakes I made. And so that really was an eye opener for me because, even I have had my fair share of negative experiences in the
Yeah.
community, but thankfully,
Mhm.
knowing someone like Mark, and through Mark, I've met so many others that are
Yeah.
just the same. Um, I haven't been discouraged by any negative stuff that has happened or anything that would normally discourage a person.
Yeah.
With that being said, through my work with him, and he's also the chair of the Albanian Diaspora Coordination Council. So through my work with him, I've been able to, use my Albanian language, like speak, read, and write. And I've been able to, be in these environments where I'm meeting these Albanian elected officials, or I'm meeting ambassadors and meeting people that really contribute to our community, and figuring out where I can find my place eventually in the future. And, and I think it's important, me being like a young woman, and I think all women go through this, they need to make sure they're in environments where someone's looking out for them. So that's an environment that's safe, an environment where you can learn and not have to worry about things that could go wrong or whatever. And I've always felt very protected, very guided. And I value that very much because that's not the same thing many other women can say.
Yeah.
And so I truly appreciate him as a mentor, as a friend, and as a colleague as well. And he's extremely open to having other young people, any young person that wants to be involved but doesn't know how, just come to his office and ask. He's
Oh,
doing
sounds like an amazing person.
it's very wonderful. I'm so fortunate to know him, and I do view him and everyone I've met through him as like a blessing in my life.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I've been further encouraged to explore the Albanian side of myself
Yeah.
through the work I've done with him and through knowing him. So I'm very thankful for that.
Shout out to Mark.
Shout out to Mark Jonah.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love to hear that. Do you feel like Albanians as a whole are as supportive as we seem to be? I've heard like people two-sided things. Like
Mhm.
either we're really supportive or either we just like want to take care of our business and not really help grow our community. What do you feel about that?
Well, I guess I'll just speak on my own experience.
Okay.
I've had individual cases where I've had the
Mhm.
negative
Okay.
and I've had lack of support,
Yeah.
but on a collective
Mhm.
level, I've had nothing but support from people so
Okay.
far,
That's
thus far.
awesome.
Of course,
Yeah.
again, I'm still,
Yeah.
young. There's still
Yeah.
more to do in life. So there's still more experiences to be had. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, ever since I made the decision that, okay, I want to put myself out there
Mhm.
and I want to, work for the community, work for my Albanian identity and be open about it and whatnot, I have received overwhelming support. In fact, from people close to me, because I guess the older you get, you realize who to keep close to you and who, to keep at a distance. And with that being said, when you have a strong support team,
Yes.
when you have a strong support team that you can bounce ideas back and
Yeah.
forth, and you have those people, you feel a lot stronger.
Mhm.
But collectively as a whole, even through social media and like people that I've spoken to, like in passing or in public events, I've received a lot of support. And I think that the way I view things, and I hope that the majority view it as well, and like when one Albanian success is every Albanian success.
Yeah.
And one Albanian suffering should be every Albanian suffering too, because if one Albanian is having a problem, we should all be there to help, because we're a collective. I view us as a collective. And for me personally, I think like if I ever achieve something, I don't want someone to be like, oh, Mary Camaj did that. I want someone to be like, oh, wow, an Albanian did that. An Albanian woman did that, because I want to erase the individual and be part of the collective. That's how I view it. And thus far, I've had positive experiences with that. Like I said, of course, there have been some negatives, but nothing to
There's
really
always going to be.
I'm not going to generalize the negative to the entire community. I would say as a whole, we want to see Albanians do good.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I think so, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we as Albanians are not going to progress unless we support ourselves collectively.
Yes.
Like one Albanian will succeed, but like if we want the collective Albanian identity to succeed, we got to be supportive to each other.
Yes.
And if we're not, we're going to
Work
self-sabotage.
as a team.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I love that. That's wonderfully put. That is the best
Thank you.
answer I've heard to that question.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really mean it though. I really mean it.
Oh, I can tell. And then last week, you attended the Bridging Nations tribute to Prime Minister Edi Rama during the UN General Assembly. You met with Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti. You met with a lot of over 100 Albanian American organizations. How has this experience impacted your sense of Albanian pride, and what were the key takeaways from these discussions with both leaders?
Yeah, sure. So I think when it comes to politicians specifically, in the Albanian case and in any case, it's very important not to idolize any politicians.
Yeah.
And us being in the diaspora, and again, this is something that I've learned from Mark, we shouldn't be heavily driven by political parties back home. We should be willing to work with the individuals that are in power for the betterment of the current situation. We can't wait for one party or another, or no, I'm going to wait until the person I like is in power. We have to make do with what we have, and we have to make the best of, what we can. With that being said, being in the presence of Prime Minister Rama and Prime Minister Kurti, I really approached it with an open mind, because, I do follow what goes on back home, but not every speech or every public or televised event that they're at. So hearing them speak to the community was very enlightening and very interesting. And I think what I gathered from both is that, the diaspora is a crucial part to both states. And being in these rooms, the majority, I would say there's only maybe like 4 or 5 young people in these rooms, which is not a lot. And I do value that. I understand how honored I feel by that, simply being in these rooms. With that being said, in the case of like Rama, he talked about the diaspora vote, which was recently passed in Albanian parliament, and how the diaspora will potentially next year be able to vote in Albania's elections, which is huge, which is great. In the case of Kurti, he really talked about, the diaspora and coming back to invest, and like the programs they have for students that want to come to Kosovo and give back. It's again very enlightening to hear, and as someone who I'm trying to figure out what I want to do or how I can contribute from back here, I really appreciated hearing both of their perspectives on that. In regards to the organizations, 140 organizations is so much, but nonetheless, I love being in the rooms with these organizations, because the way we organized the meeting, we also organized a meeting with Rama and the community, and then that meeting with Kurti was with the community as well. And we had like one representative per organization show up to attend, submit their questions and everything. These nonprofit organizations represent different regions all across, ethnic Albania, not just like Kosovo, Montenegro, all of them. They represent different issues, there's some women's groups, there's Albanian language schools and everything. So a bunch of different fields. So it's really great to hear all these different perspectives in one room. And I do know that whenever we organize events throughout the year, we always call all these organizations, hey, are you a supporter of this event? Can we list you down as a supporter? We always get yeses from these organizations. They always share the work that we're doing. And, you know, I know Mark has some plans in the future in regards to how we can further unite all these organizations and how we can, I guess, collaborate more on organizing events together. So that will be coming in the future from him, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it is always a pleasure to be in the presence of other Albanians, and especially those that are working for the betterment of Albanians back home, but also Albanians in the diaspora.
Awesome. And lastly, can you share any specific projects or initiatives you're currently working on? Do you have any you want to share with us today?
Sure. So I guess what I'll say is that I have this dancing thing coming up next month.
Nice.
It'll be on my
Mhm.
social media eventually, which I'm really
Okay.
excited about.
Okay.
Other than that, I will say that back when I met with, so when I was in Albania this past summer, I met with two individuals. I met with the Speaker of Parliament, Elisa Spirapali, and I also met with the mayor of Malësia Madhe, Tonit Marinaj. At the meeting with the Speaker of Parliament, first off, I was incredibly honored to have the chance to speak with her. But during that meeting, of course, I felt very valued. My opinions were very much valued, and I gave ideas, which was great and very refreshing. I had asked that we work on digitizing books and documents that the Albanian National Library may have that diaspora might not have access to. And she had promised me that she would be working on that and that she would fully support that initiative because it's actually a really great initiative.
Yes.
And a couple days ago, they actually launched the platform for students in the diaspora to have access to these documents and these books for their research, which I was so, so happy about. So it was great to know that an idea that I had actually came to fruition. But an idea that I plan on working on in the future with the mayor of Malësia Madhe, Tonit Marinaj, when I had asked him what should the diaspora do specifically for Malësia Madhe, like me being a Malsora myself, what can I do? And his response was helping fund students attend high school or higher education back home. And he had asked if it was possible, you know, to find a way to create some type of fundraiser back in New York or wherever to send money back to sponsor the top students of like 8th grade to continue going to high school, because a lot of people still live in villages back home. They still live in these mountainous areas, and you know, transportation, tuition, it's a lot for them, but the price might not be a lot for us back here. And who knows how many students we can sponsor. I thought that was a great idea on his part. I promised him that I would work on it, and I do promise and I will plan to work on it. And hopefully that's something that can come to fruition soon. But yeah, that's it.
Wow, that is amazing work. Inspirational. And lastly, we are on our rapid fire round where I ask you 10 fun questions.
Okay.
Rapidly respond.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure from Albania, who would it be?
George Kastrioti Skanderbeu.
Very nice.
Yes.
What would you say is the best cafe in Albania?
Cafe. I like Hotel Colosseo in Shkodër. I really like that one.
And then what is one Albanian phrase everyone should know?
Book e kryp e zemër. It's a phrase.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Oh,
yes.
There you go. Oh my God, I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
But no, it's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then favorite Kong Popolora.
Oh, you got me there. There's too many. I'll say there's this song from Malësia Madhe. It's called Narfolet. I will send you the link to it so you can hear it, but it's essentially about a girl under a bird's nest and how she's so beautiful. And this guy's like, I wanted to ask you a question. It's a love song, but it's I personally really love it. And it's one of my favorites. So yeah.
If you had to choose a song to represent your life, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Jam Shqiptar, Jam Malsor by Nicole McBride.
I love that one too.
There you go. There you go.
I jam out to that in the car when I'm
It's so good.
What's your favorite hidden gem in Albania?
Hidden gem. I would say, I mean, it is a tourist attraction, but I don't think for the right reason. I mean, for my reason. So when you go to Krui at the Skanderbeu's museum, there's an old shopping area. I don't know how It's like Pazar I Vjetar is what it's
Okay.
called in
Okay.
Albanian.
Yeah.
And there's all these little shops, and it's like pretty to take photos and everything. Yeah, but if you really go inside these shops,
Mhm.
they have those old dusty boxes in the back. They have old books, photo albums of like traditional clothing, of like culture.
Oh,
I
nice.
personally, I have a collection of like old Albanian books that are no longer in publication. Like that's my favorite thing to collect. So every time I go there, I look for these books because they have a plethora of gems in these shops.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, but
Yeah.
I really think that's like a hot spot for me. I love
Okay.
going there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Your all-time favorite Vala?
Um, I have to do Vala Malsorcha, like Malsia
Yeah,
Mala with the
you have
Xhubleta. Why
to.
not? But shout out to Valja Tropois and the Valja Shqipërisë Mesme. I love those two as well. Yeah.
What is one thing on your bucket list?
One thing on my bucket list. I would love one day to give some type of speech in
Mhm.
Albania. Like, I don't know what event it would be. I don't know what, it could be anything, but I really just want to address the people back home
Yeah.
face to face and be able to give whatever message I have to them. It would be an honor for me.
Oh, I
So,
love that. All
yeah.
right. And favorite place in New York?
Um, I love the Bronx. The Bronx is such like a hot spot for Albanian businesses, Albanian culture, food, and people. I love the Bronx.
All right. And then favorite color.
Orange.
And so thank you for so much for joining us today, Mary. Your insights into your cultural heritage and your dedication to preserving Albanian identity are truly inspiring. And before you close, I'd like to ask you, do you have a final message or a piece of advice that you'd like to share with our listeners, especially those who are looking to connect more deeply with their own heritage?
Sure. The best decision that I've ever made in my life, and the decision that has completely transformed my life, is when I decided that I fully want to step into the Albanian side of myself, and
Okay.
that I want to allow that to guide me through life.
Mhm.
Despite what I think others might say, despite what, Western society or mainstream media says, the moment I stepped into that true part of myself,
Mhm.
everything truly fell into place for me, and opportunities came my way and wonderful people came my way, and things just lined up in a way that I would, even if I had to write it down myself, like this is what I want, I wouldn't have been able to do it as beautifully as the way life came about. With that being said, anyone listening or watching this,
Yeah.
if you're in doubt, if you feel that you're not Albanian enough or that you're too old to start, that is completely not true. Everyone has their outlet and can have their outlet of how to express their culture in any way. There's no one that will tell you this is what you have to do. You
Yeah.
have to do this to be Albanian. You have to act this way. That doesn't exist. Albanian is within all of us. We just need to find it within ourselves. And so never fear reaching out to others and asking, hey, how can I be more involved? Or how can I explore this side of myself? Or how there are a bunch of people out there to help. And if you want to shoot me a message, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody that wants any ideas. But with that being said, yeah, that's my message.
Awesome. I love that. And to
Thank
our
you.
listeners, thank you for tuning in to the EaglePod. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And we look forward to bringing you more inspiring Albanian American stories. So,
Thank you for listening.
thank you.